I am hungry. Ik heb hunger. Now, this is my tiny little app for Dutch translations from English, and I built it using Vercel V0. I've been living in Amsterdam for a while and I'm trying to learn Dutch. One of the ways of learning Dutch is, of course, using Google Translate. I also tried Duolingo. This is also a fun little project that I thought of doing, and here we are. I have a small little app where I can type in my English phrases and get some Dutch translations for it. Let me show you how I built this app. Now, we are in the workspace of Vercel. If you see on the left hand side, we have got the section where you enter the prompts, and on the right hand side, you see the output. So this was literally the first prompt that I gave in order to build this app. And the idea behind this was to learn Dutch, and in such a way that it's more conversational, but it should give me some useful Dutch sentences for my English sentences. And so some of the key things that I had highlighted in my prompt are these ones. The translation should not be too formal, but it should be conversational. And my aim is to learn Dutch in a conversational way. The app can have interface like a chat, and I also want to save some of my translations for quick access. So this was my prompt. Now I tried the same prompt in Lovable as well. So I was trying to do this simultaneous comparison of who's doing it better. I'll tell you the similarities and differences a little later, but let's have a look at the first output from Lovable and Vercel. So here's a screenshot I took when I was developing this app. As soon as I entered the prompt, I got this first version out, and that is what you see on the right hand side. And you can see I have already tried the translations, but it did not work. It says error translating text, please try again. So at the first attempt, this did not really work out. And I got this server error as well. This was Vercel, by the way. And when I tried it in Lovable, I got the similar kind of issues, but a little later. The first output did not really have any issue. I did not see a glaring error, but as soon as I tried something, I got an error as well. Now, since we are already using the AI tool, I thought let AI fix the error itself, because I did not know what the error was actually for. So I told Vercel that I'm getting this error, can you just fix it? And the same thing I did with Lovable as well, that it did not really translate the text, and so Lovable went into the fixing mode. So at first try, the translations did not really work. And I wasn't really able to figure out why simple translations cannot work, like what was actually going wrong. And both the tools helped me explain why these translations were not really working. So if you look at this conversation here, we're looking at an English sentence of how are you? In the Dutch, they actually translated the first word, but not the next two words. And this was very surprising. Like if it can translate the how part, why can't it translate are and you words as well? And this is where both the tools gave me the same response and what we call as inbuilt dictionary response. Both Lovable and Vercel have something called as inbuilt dictionary response for a question of translations. Whenever you ask for a translation from language A to language B, they might use some built-in dictionary in order to do the translation. Now this dictionary needs to be enriched and it needs to have more and more words. My idea was basically it should work like Google Translate. And I don't want to make this app so complex that I have to build a dictionary around it and make an app which is full-fledged just like Google Translate. So then I thought of an idea, like if I chat with ChatGPT and I type in English sentences, it gives me back some English response. So I said, let's just connect this with OpenAI API. At this point, I did not have much idea, although this was a suggestion from Vercel in the first attempt itself. They said, in case you want, you could connect it with OpenAI and then give me your API keys, and then I can connect you so that you can have live translations. So you don't need built-in dictionary response. And that's exactly what I did. I actually then had to switch to OpenAI, create my account over there, and then get access to their APIs. And for that, I needed to pay some $5. Now, this is very interesting, and let me show you how OpenAI has their pricing plan. So when you come to their webpage and you're about to make a purchase, you can see that they have these three plans. One is $5, $10, and $20. Now the $5 plan is most recommended, but it also comes with like 2 million input or 500K output tokens. And I'll show you a dashboard in a second after I've shown you some conversations here. So this was the idea. You go and create an OpenAI account, you get your API key, and the API key that you get, you can enter it in the Vercel code itself. Vercel and Lovable both make it very easy for you to input the API key, so that's not very challenging part, and the AI tool also helps you and guides you in how you can do that. For example, I simply told Vercel that I don't have any API key and what's the workaround. So it suggested me some workaround, but it also suggested me how I could have an OpenAI account in order to get the API key. So once I had done that, I had established a connection between my app, which is getting built on Vercel and Lovable, and getting connected to OpenAI's APIs, which means I can translate any sentences and I do not have to rely on a built-in dictionary which is provided within this app. That also means I do not have to enrich my dictionary for this. As soon as I type a sentence here in this chat input, it takes that input and it adds a prefix as part of the code, and it sends that entire API request to OpenAI. And I'll show you what the prefix looks like. Have a look at this highlighted part. It says you are a Dutch language translator specializing in conversational Dutch. Translate the English text to natural everyday Dutch. So now what happens is every time I go here and I type something, so let's say I am hungry. As soon as I enter I am hungry, it is attaching that particular prompt or instruction, sending an API request to OpenAI, and then getting a response back. Now OpenAI now understands I need to make it conversational, need to keep it simple. So Ik heb honger is a response from OpenAI in this case. The translation experience in Lovable is also similar to Vercel as long as you connect with OpenAI. Now let's have a look at the logs in OpenAI dashboard. Now OpenAI actually gives you a very good dashboard, and these are some of the sentences that I have tried in the past. For example, you can see I'm hungry is coming here now. I already tried it many times, so it gets logged over here. So you get to see all the API requests that have come to OpenAI. You also get to see the usage. For example, how many tokens have been utilized. Now this is where I was interested because I've been sending only one sentence at a time and it still says 449 tokens, and that is because of the prefix it attaches as a prompt from Vercel. But because it has a prefix, it becomes a larger request and therefore multiple tokens get utilized. I think I have a long way to go before I can exhaust all these tokens and credits that I have in $5 plan. The good thing about this OpenAI dashboard is the logs feature, which is you can see all the logs that you have so far. Let's come back to my app. Now, I was trying very hard to make this UI look a little bit different and a little bit nicer. Let me show you one of the improvements that I had as a prompt, and Vercel got it completely wrong. Now, here is the output that I got to a prompt that I had given to Vercel. Can you take a guess what the prompt could have been? I was trying to aim for this chat-like interface, and so in my prompt, I mentioned that let's do something like WhatsApp. Now, as soon as I mentioned let's do something like WhatsApp, it gave me this polka dot style background for my chat interface. Of course, I did not want to do it, but it goes to show you that some of the UI elements and UI design is not that great in these tools yet. It gives you somewhat okay output, but it cannot beat the work that you get from your designers and front-end engineers. But again, I'm just typing some stuff out. I'm just writing something in text and getting an output. Now, there is one interesting feature that I love, which is basically if I've got one translation, I could save it. And as soon as you save it, it will appear over here as your saved translation. Now, the UX of this app is not that great. I mean, I personally do not like it either, but functionally it works, and that is what I'm going after. Now, let's talk about some of the similarities and differences that I found when I was creating this app using Vercel and Lovable. Now, the first thing which is very obvious is that when you see the first output from Lovable, it is actually aesthetically more pleasing. It is beautiful. At first glance, it feels a bit more polished compared to that of Vercel. But these are some personal preferences, and it also depends on the framework they have used for front end, and therefore it's just a matter of what you like best. Personally, I like Lovable's first output compared to Vercel's. Now, both apps had errors when I was trying it out for the first time. So as soon as I entered something, I got an error. So at the first attempt, it did not really give me a positive experience, and that was consistent in both these apps. Also, another thing that I noticed is the built-in dictionary concept was used by both Vercel and Lovable. I guess that is how you would build an app, something like a translator. They also did a good job in explaining to me what these differences were and how it could be different if I use this OpenAI for better translations. Now, this is the last point and one of the biggest differences that I noticed. Vercel does a connection with OpenAI once, and you don't have to provide this key over and over again. For some reason, I find that different in Lovable. They did ask me for the OpenAI key API multiple times. I'm not entirely sure of what the approach is really when it comes to saving this API key, but for some reason I have to feed in the API key each time in the session in Lovable, but I do not have to do that thing in Vercel. To me, it was just a fun little project. I wanted to play around with this tool and I wanted to create some app that I also found a bit more useful. After creating the app for 1 or 2 days, I was very excited. I was using this a lot, but then over time, I did not find the need to use it. Of course, this app can also be much more beautiful and I would have to spend more time on it. But it goes to show how easy it has become to create fully functioning app using some simple prompts. So if you have not tried this before, I think you should go ahead and check it out. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching.